You have a translation, English?
Yes, here.
It's English?
It should be English, yes. If you can put it in, then you'll know. Okay. And you can move the channels. If you need me to help you, then I'll help you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know
You're
your
good.
assistance.
Thank you. Okay.
And French is which channel?
I'm not sure, but I think if you play around with it, friend 1 or 2, so over here. So over here, 1 or 2. Okay, you'll work it out. Okay, shall we go?
Yeah.
All right, Your Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, may I ask for your attention, please? Your Excellent, is my microphone working? Hello? Your Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, I hope my microphone is working. Is it working? Very good. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if I may ask for your attention so that we can begin our session, please. It would be much appreciated. They should. Okay, there we go. Thank you very much. All right, so let me begin by saying the warmest welcome to all of you, Excellencies, as we begin our session titled Strengthening Food Security Through Trade and Digital Systems. Allow me please to recognize our host, the Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who's joining us here this morning. Thank you very much, ma'am. And all of you distinguished ladies and gentlemen and our esteemed panel, whom I'll introduce to you in a short while. As we begin, I just want to run through a few statistics, which many of you will be familiar with, but I think for the interests of our audience live streaming, and for others for whom this is quite an esoteric topic, let's simplify it for you. Somewhere between the number 700 million and 821 million, depending on which statistics you're looking at and which time frame. But in the last 5 years, 700 million to 821 million people are undernourished and go to bed hungry every single day. 42.3 million, according to the World Food Programme, are facing what they call a hunger emergency. So that's a situation more dire than being undernourished. You are on the brink of starvation. Compounding variables have been conflict, the climate crises, landslides, droughts, flooding, which has affected economies such as Zimbabwe, Zambia, and a lot of the economies of the Sahel. And then in this post-COVID world, if we can really call it a post-COVID world, there have been the compounding variables of disease, sickness, which has made it even more pressing to address issues of undernourishment. And the trade-offs that many governments are facing is whether to make interventions at a fiscal budgetary level, at a health level, supporting agriculture, or doing all of it in unison. The United Nations believe that nutrition and affordable food is a key pillar of realizing the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And it is one of those very elusive goals with less than 6 years to go in terms of the deadlines at this multilateral level. Many questions that experts have asked is, what are the interventions? Are they at a policy level? Are they at an agricultural insurance level? Is it teaching people different farming techniques? Is it bioresearch? Is it finance? Others say it's a combination of all of these interventions. And so today we're going to talk about the coordination that's needed at a multilateral level amongst the institutions whose mandate it is to address questions of food security, mitigate hunger, and bring about gender equality. And we're going to see the extent to which trade policy can also be an enhancing variable of establishing food security and strengthening food systems. And we'll ask whether innovations such as digital transformation can also help to elevate how we do research, how we do spatial mapping, and the interventions that we can introduce both at rural and at urban level. And so with these few remarks, let us begin our conversation. As I introduce to you our discussants, we have the esteemed 9th Director General of the UN Food and Agricultural Organization, Dr. Chu Dong-yu, who joins us today. Dr. Chu is well versed on the subject and has worked in various capacities in the area of agriculture, food research and policy making, having once been the Vice Minister of Agriculture for the People's Republic of China and also for rural affairs. We have to just add a caveat that Dr. Chu's schedule requires that he leave us middle of the session, and so we're going to yield the floor to you, Dr. Chu, to make your interventions and then allow you to take your leave. We also have Minister Luke Mbarga Atangana, the Minister of Trade for Cameroon, who is also the minister in charge of bringing about the MC14 this year, and so we wish you well and we look forward to your stewardship. We have Minister Mathieu Guibolo Fanga, who is the Minister of Trade for the Republic of Chad and also the coordinator of the African group here at the WTO. We thank you, Your Excellency, for your time. Joining us is a voice from academia, Professor Sachin Sharma, who is with the Center for WTO Studies for the Indian Institute for Foreign Trade, and you've made the trip all the way from India. We thank you so much for your time. And a view from the ground, proverbially and quite literally, Ms. Susan Ndungu, who is with the Farm Input Promotions Center in Kenya. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your time. FAO Director General Dr. Chu Dong-yu. The FAO is leading various global initiatives to achieve food security for all of us. What advice would you give the international community, fellow multilateral organizations, in terms of their interventions to achieve the sustainability we need and a food secure world?
First of all, thank you, my dear sister, Madam Director General of the WTO, to invite me to come this short invention. But I managed to come and respect her contribution since he arrived. And also the change, the positive way to lead the, maybe we saw some light on the long tunnel. So I'm always optimistic also together to join with her meeting. And also I got the new tires from WTO. And thank you. The walk the talk. It's WTO is not new for me. That's when I sit here. I remind me 6 years ago I was here invited by the Alan Wolf, DDG of the WTO, to give the lecture or briefing on the e-commerce and digital agriculture, how to lead and transform agro-food system and rural development. You know, they support the smallholder farmers in the world, especially in the developing world. So today, as a new capacity as FODG, and just 5 years ago, so I wanted to share with my thought with you, and because I have to catch the flight, so I apologize for that. I will leave earlier. I didn't have a chance to listen to my brothers from Cameroon because last month I just traveled to Cameroon. So, I answer your questions, and I just give the brief thought. First, 2030 agenda call for action. Food is produced in the field, not a talk in the stage, and not talk in the WTO and FAO headquarters. So we need action to end the hunger and eliminate all the forms of the malnutrition, as you said, all the statistics from the FAO. Yeah. Increasing agricultural productivity first, and the incomes of the smallholder producers, because 85% of the food producers are smallholder farmers, less than 3 hectares per family in the world. Ensure a sustainable agro-food system and sustain biodiversity and the natural resources. And of course, the farmers, smallholder farmers, family farmers, are the real private sector, because they made some money, borrow some money, they invest by themselves. adapt into the complex pressure of the climate crisis. In short, we need to produce more with less, because by 2050 we will reach 10 billion population. So we need more food, at least a 30 to 40% increase. But we should also, at the same time, minimize the negative impact on environment, less input, less consumption of the natural resources, water, land, you name it, and the agricultural input, seed, fertilizer, chemicals. So we need to produce more food, more diversity food, and high quality food with less. Global agri-food system need to ensure food security and nutrition for all, while they being the efficient first, and inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. However, the conflict and war, climate extreme, economic setback, and increasing inequalities are hampering global efforts to improve the food security and achieve the SDG target, especially SDG 2 and SDG 1, and others, of course. And here also you talk about fishery, SDG 14, also is essential. In 2022, about 9.2% of world population was chronically hungry, up to, from the 7.9% in 2019, before pandemic. Not only absolute number increased, also proportion, percentage are increased. That's real dangerous for us to reach the SDGs. Even in 2030, based on FAO modeling, we predict that nearly 600 million people are projected to be chronically undernourished. FAO has been in the forefront of the global effort to address the increased food insecurity situation, leverage our knowledge and expertise in agri-food systems and our unique strengths and a comparable advantage as a specialized agents of the United Nations family, in line with our mandate by providing the timely data, information, strategies, and policy consultations, improving global food security governance, stepping up emergency humanitarian response, and developing concrete proposals and initiatives to improve capacity, especially in the developing world. In this context, to achieve the sustainable and food security world with strong political commitment, agro-food system and rural development, it's not only economic. As Madame DG, she was a key minister in Nigeria and was a former vice president of World Bank. She knows it's not only the economic, it's a political, environmental, and social challenge. That's why when you start a negotiation here, it's not a matter of the money. It's a matter of the political commitment. For transform agri-food system from the point of view of FAO mandate, also, we need a strong political commitment. That's why each time I visit the countries, I had the honor to meet with the head of state. Through their commitment and support the minister of professional ministers, Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Environment, Minister of Forestry, Minister of Fishery, Minister of Livestock, or Minister of Economy, Minister of Trade. In this context, to achieve a sustainable and food security world, we needed all this and to support. But let me simplify the 5 concrete ideas, suggestions for your discussion and the thought. First, we needed to promote the inclusive and equitable growth, including through the fire. I know you are dealing with the fire. Fire is not absolutely, relatively. But agri-food system, we need a complementary trade practice. That's the nature of agri-food system. You can produce this orange in the subtropical region. You are not allowed to produce a banana here. Why are you fighting with banana here, Switzerland? You don't produce a banana. So that's why we should share and the complementary trade. If we don't change that language, that scenario, you're always fighting. Yeah, I'm a small Chinese from smallholder farmers. I try to avoid any fighting. I know. I have a strong soft power like my madam sister. Yeah, we are not ready to fighting. Yeah? We are ready to solve the problem with our intelligence and wisdom. And to achieve this, we must invest in the rural infrastructure, including road, energy, broadband. That's why it's very important for digital farming and the e-commerce in the rural area. Storage facilities, cold chain systems, last mile infrastructure to improve the access to the market, reduce the cost of transportation and the logistics. Because farmers, smallholder farmers, they couldn't do it by their own. The government and other big partners should help them. At the same time, to enhance the market access, particularly for smallholder farmers and producers, we need to facilitate their access to input, the financial services, while they avoid the trade distorting measures, such as export restriction, and that can destabilize the market to the detriment of the farmers in the developing countries. Second, we need to focus on strengthening resilience and the sustainability of our agri-food system. We must invest in the research and development to develop the new technology and the practices and training farmers to help them to get the necessary technology. So they support the farmers in a different way in the different countries. We have to look at the purpose and the outcome of the subsidy and the investment. Should be have the efficiency and the resilience, and also the improve the livelihood of smallholder farmers. This is the bottom line for any kind of policy, including trade policy. We need to implement a strategy on science innovation to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions from the agriculture, such as sustainable land management and the reforestation, and adaptive measure to protect the agriculture from the negative effect of the climate crisis, including crop diversification and the resilient infrastructure. This is the only way to produce more with less. Integrated water management, sustainable water use practice are critical, especially in the drought areas. Sahara, West Africa or North Africa, Near East, the west part of China, even the United States, west part of the United States, Arizona, you name it. Yeah? Third, we need to take action to reduce the food loss in the West and promote the healthy and the nutritious diets. We need to minimize the post-harvest loss and the food waste at the consumer level. And we need to also develop the strategies that will encourage food production and the consumption of the diverse range of nutritious food to combat malnutrition and improve the public health. That's why we strongly encourage both of the ambassadors here. You are middle above class. We need to advocate a healthy lifestyle, reduce the waste. If you come to the cafeteria, now almost zero waste. We use the new measurement in the cafeteria. After 1 year, my chief economist, we introduced about 1.5 years now, from the, let's say, 50 kilo a day, now almost zero. Walk the talk. Not only talk, ask other people to reduce the food waste from your home, from your cafeteria. The food waste is the most practical, cost-effective to the environment, green development. And last, fourth recommendation is our focus on should be smallholder, very vulnerable populations. The program provide access to resource training and the financial services to smallholder farmers are crucial for transform agriculture. Last, and the fifth, we need to realize to achieve the food security and sustainable world, we must strengthen global collaboration and governance. We are only one have a smallholder planet here. No, sooner or later, you will benefit negatively, deteriorate of the environment. So that's a real shared future. We have to look after our own planet before too late. Thank you.
We want to thank you for your insights, Your Excellency. People, planet, shared prosperity in diplomacy and negotiations, not a winner-takes-all approach. Complementary trade policy, it leads to equity, resilience, better farming techniques, technology to help smallholder farmers capture the right data to make them farm better. Research matters, and wastage is something we can all do. Better consumer behavior, consumer practices. All of those interventions deliberately means we start to shift the needle. You've given us food for thought. We thank you for your time, and yes, sir, you may take your leave.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
That's called efficiency, jumping off the stage. Thank you, sir. All right, there are a lot of things for us to consider as presented to us by the Director General of the Food and Agricultural Organization, Dr. Chu Dong-yu. We can continue and elaborate on some of the things he said about trade policy. So may I yield the floor to you, Minister Luke Atangana, the Minister of Cameroon and also Chairperson of the MC14, the Ministerial Conference, the 14th edition. How can the WTO play a role in bolstering food security? This is where trade policy is crafted along with member states. What can you do?
Je vous remercie, Madame la coordinatrice. Vous me permettrez, à l'entame de mon propos, de m'associer aux remerciements qui ont été adressés à notre sœur Dr Ngozi pour l'excellent travail qui est fait pour la nouvelle visibilité que vous donnez à l'OMC et qui nous permet aujourd'hui d'avancer. Je crois que vous êtes sur la bonne voie, vous avez notre soutien entier. C'est grâce à vous qu'on a ce type de débats qui sont des débats, Madame la modératrice disait, des débats ésotériques. Je suis d'accord avec vous, ce n'est pas un débat ésotérique, c'est un débat de fond. Madame la modératrice, vous avez évoqué, comme le directeur général de la FAO, quelques statistiques qui, effectivement, doivent nous amener à agir. Je vais compléter ces statistiques par une qui est davantage une prévision. Il semblerait qu'à l'horizon 2050, c'est-à-dire dans 26 ans, nous sommes en 2024, à l'horizon 2050, il faudra avoir doublé la production agricole actuelle pour être capable de nourrir l'humanité. Ça veut dire que c'est un défi non simplement de sécurité alimentaire. Aujourd'hui, on doit considérer que c'est un défi de sécurité tout court. Donc c'est une situation grave qui engage l'avenir et la survie même de l'humanité. Pouvoir garantir, assurer la paix. Si les gens ne mangent pas, évidemment, ils vont se révolter. Et tout sera remis en cause. Donc c'est un débat de fond et les statistiques nous interpellent. Maintenant, qu'est-ce que l'OMC peut faire? Moi, j'aurais commencé par dire, est-ce que l'OMC peut? Naturellement, la réponse est oui. Et ensuite, donc, c'est de savoir comment. Et le comment nous engage en tant qu'État membre. Il faut cette prise de conscience de la part des États membres pour que nous avancions dans les problématiques qui deviennent, année après année, un serpent de mer. On discute des accords à l'OMC. Il faut des engagements, mais personne ne veut prendre ces engagements. Ça fait combien d'années qu'on discute de l'accord sur l'agriculture? Tant d'années, il n'y a rien qui est fait. On continue de parler, d'échanger, on va de renvoi en renvoi. Donc il y a d'abord une question d'engagement politique des États membres. Il y a des dispositions qui nous permettent de régler ces problèmes. Je prends l'accord sur l'agriculture, par exemple. Il y a la disposition sur la restriction des exportations qui demande aujourd'hui à être clarifiée. Mais ce n'est pas le secrétariat de l'OMC qui va le faire, c'est nous les États membres, c'est la volonté politique. Nous avons vu pendant la pandémie du Covid-19, après la pandémie, nous avons vu un certain nombre de mesures qui ont été prises par certains États en matière de restriction des exportations, notamment la question des céréales, du riz. Ces mesures sont de nature à entraîner des troubles dans les pays qui sont dépendants des importations. Je prends les États africains qui sont importateurs nets de riz. Vous les privez de cette alimentation qui est une alimentation quotidienne. Donc c'est un problème. Et ça, si nous n'avons pas de règles contraignantes, si nous ne nous imposons pas de disciplines au sein de l'OMC, on peut continuer de parler, de discuter. Cela n'aura aucun impact. Donc il nous faut des règles précises à l'OMC, qui soient des règles contraignantes et qui soient des règles donc, qui s'imposent à tous. Le voulons-nous? La question est en débat. Donc il y a un problème. Le comment de votre question, c'est est-ce que les États, est-ce que les membres ont la volonté politique ou est-ce que les membres ont conscience de ce que l'avenir est sujet à interrogation. Et quand on commence à déstabiliser, là, je crois que c'est il y a un écrivain américain, Ernest Hemingway, au XXe siècle, qui avait écrit un très joli roman que je vous conseille de lire, Pour qui sonne le glas. Et il disait dans ce roman, ne vous posez pas la question de savoir si le glas sonne pour l'autre. Quand il sonne pour l'autre, il sonne pour vous. Donc il faut qu'on comprenne que cela nous engage tous et que nous devons y faire attention. Des dispositions existent, mais il faut avancer. Il faut construire ces accords dont nous avons besoin. L'accord sur l'agriculture, les questions des restrictions aux exportations, à l'exportation, la question de la détention des stocks à des fins de sécurité alimentaire. Les mécanismes existent, mais c'est la volonté qui fait défaut. Donc ça, c'est en ce qui nous concerne, qui nous interpelle donc, nous les États membres. Maintenant, en direction du secrétariat de l'OMC, je pense qu'en attendant que ces pas soient franchis, il existe des outils pratiques qui sont des innovations à mettre au crédit du secrétariat de l'OMC. Je pense à l'accord, et c'est le thème en débat au cours de cette session, je pense à l'aide au commerce, qui est une initiative fondamentale prise par le secrétariat de l'OMC, il me semble, à la 5e ou 6e ministérielle en 2005. C'était à Hong Kong. Je crois que c'est une excellente initiative. L'aide au commerce, mais il faut lui donner, il faut aller plus loin, il faut lui donner un contenu. Nous, pays africains, pays en développement de manière globale, nous disons oui, d'accord au multilatéralisme. Mais le multilatéralisme suppose aussi que chacun est capable de participer à ces échanges. Donc il y a la question fondamentale, et c'est aussi une question qui divise évidemment les économistes, mais la politique de l'offre, c'est une question fondamentale. L'offre, il faut développer l'offre. L'aide au commerce doit être au service du développement, de l'accroissement de l'offre. Ce n'est pas simplement, nous sommes d'accord, que les fonds qui ne sont pas encore suffisants de l'aide pour le commerce, qu'ils soient alloués à la création des infrastructures marchandes, portuaires, etc. Est-ce qu'on ne pourrait pas plutôt inverser les priorités, donner la priorité au développement de la production, prioritairement? S'il n'y a pas de production, vos infrastructures vont servir à quoi? Donc il y a un outil, je crois, qu'on peut utiliser de manière efficace, qui est donc le mécanisme, et qui ne relève pas celui-là des États, de la volonté politique des États, mais de la bonne volonté plutôt des contributeurs. Et l'OMC, le secrétaire de l'OMC peut mobiliser. Je pense que nous devons lui donner et les moyens et le mandat de mobiliser davantage les fonds et d'affecter prioritairement ces fonds donc, au développement de l'offre, notamment dans les pays en développement. Cela passe par la recherche, avec notamment les questions des changements climatiques. Cela passe aussi par la mise à disposition au bénéfice des États, les États pauvres, des semences adaptées aux changements climatiques. Cela passe aussi par la disponibilité des intrants Et la crise entre l'Ukraine et la Russie a montré que sans intrants à des coûts accessibles, nous n'allons pas développer l'agriculture, nous n'allons pas développer l'offre. Donc je pense qu'il y a un outil, effectivement, quand vous demandez comment l'OMC peut, je pense qu'en mieux, en utilisant mieux l'outil qu'est l'aide au commerce, je pense qu'on peut y arriver. Enfin, et je rejoins les propos du directeur général de la FAO, il est évident que l'OMC tout seul ne peut rien. Je crois qu'aujourd'hui, il faut mutualiser les efforts, il faut mutualiser les moyens, il faut trouver des canaux qui permettent des interactions entre les différentes structures qui interviennent dans ce domaine. La FAO a beaucoup de choses à dire, la FAO a des moyens. Il y a aussi le programme alimentaire mondial. Je pense que nous ne devons pas nous limiter à un débat entre nous. L'entre-soi ne suffira pas pour résoudre ce problème. Il faut y associer, et même, j'allais dire, le Fonds monétaire international, la Banque mondiale, toutes les grandes institutions. Je crois que c'est en mutualisant ces efforts, ces moyens que nous allons atteindre cet objectif. Faute de quoi, je vous assure, c'est l'humanité entière qui est en péril. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, reminding us why multilateralism works. There's so much expertise, so much knowledge to share, resources to share, whether we're talking about the development finance institutions, the multilateral development banks, they've got the resources, the knowledge lies with the FAO and other coordinating bodies, WTO, political will to move beyond just agreements, to negotiations into agreements that yield results. And of course, quoting from Ernest Hemingway's book there, For Whom the Bell Tolls, a book that reminds us that we all have a moral and ethical dilemma to humanity, because we all face life, we all face death, and if we don't make interventions, we all suffer the same consequences. So thank you for that reminder, sir. We move on to you, Minister of Trade for Chad, Coordinator of the African Group, Mathieu Gibolo Fanga. Quite a few things were said by Minister Atangara here, which is even at an African level. We focus so much on different things like resources. We end up not cultivating the land that can be cultivated, importing the food, and then creating another dilemma. What needs to change in some of these markets?
Bien, merci Madame la modératrice. Je vais joindre ma voix à celle des autres pour ne pas déroger aux règles établies et à l'ordre de préséance, pour emboîter le pas au ministre, mon collègue, celui du Cameroun, pour remercier Madame la directrice générale de l'OMC pour ce cadre de travail dont la présence massive des participants témoigne à plus d'un titre. Madame la modératrice, je voudrais vous remercier pour cette pertinente question et remercier l'OMC pour le secrétariat de l'OMC pour son invitation à cet important événement. Je voudrais également féliciter les organisateurs de nous réunir pour nous permettre d'échanger et voir dans quelle mesure nous pouvons contribuer à faire progresser cette question importante relative à la sécurité alimentaire liée au commerce qui fait partie intégrante du volet agriculture dans nos discussions ici à l'OMC. Au nom du groupe africain, ou mieux, pour être vigilant et modéré en mon nom, je voudrais me réjouir de l'accent mis par l'OMC sur la sécurité alimentaire, la connectivité numérique et l'intégration au commerce dans le cadre du présent examen global de l'aide pour le commerce. Ces questions sont traitées régulièrement par notre groupe et les voir réunis à cette édition nous réconforte à plus d'un titre dans nos nombreuses luttes pour le renforcement du système commercial multilatéral équitable. Je voudrais souligner ici que l'agriculture demeure pour nous une grande priorité en raison de son poids réel sur nos économies, de son impact sur l'emploi et pour des raisons évidentes de sécurité alimentaire. Nous recherchons, dans le cadre du système commercial multilatéral, à mieux bénéficier des avantages que les États africains possèdent dans le domaine agricole. De ce point de vue, la question de la sécurité alimentaire revêt pour nous une importance cruciale pour nos pays. Nous sommes des importateurs nets de produits alimentaires, comme l'a si bien rappelé le ministre du Commerce du Cameroun, et nous sommes impactés de manière significative par la pandémie et les différentes crises que le monde traverse actuellement. Pour assurer notre sécurité alimentaire, nos agriculteurs doivent augmenter leur productivité et leur production, se spécialiser dans la production de cultures pour lesquelles ils ont un avantage comparatif car la sécurité alimentaire est étroitement liée à la réduction de la pauvreté et à la capacité de subvenir aux besoins de leur famille. C'est pourquoi nous pensons qu'il nous faut envisager la possibilité d'obtenir un prix prévisible et raisonnablement stable pour nos cultures de rente. Il nous faut des garanties raisonnables pour s'assurer que nos propres besoins alimentaires seront disponibles en quantité et à des prix que nous pouvons se permettre, y compris en période de pénurie et des conditions de concurrence équitables sur le marché. On voit bien que la réforme tant attendue du système commercial agricole est difficile. Nous n'avons pas le luxe d'attendre qu'un consensus soit établi à l'OMC. Je suis donc convaincu que personne ne peut s'opposer à ce que la sécurité alimentaire soit une question majeure qui doit être traitée par l'OMC. Et c'est un élément des objectifs de développement durable et le commerce est un élément important de toute stratégie de sécurité alimentaire. Ce point est transversal et traite de la question de la flambée des prix des denrées alimentaires, la perturbation des chaînes d'approvisionnement et les pénuries continues attendues dans l'approvisionnement alimentaire en raison du changement climatique qui exige une action urgente pour atténuer l'insécurité alimentaire en Afrique. Parlant d'une de nos nombreuses luttes, justement, Madame la modératrice, pour revenir à votre question, je voudrais rappeler ici quelques données statistiques de la FAO de 2022 sur la question de sécurité alimentaire. En Afrique, 20% de la population, voire plus actuellement, sont confrontés à la faim, contre 9% en Asie, 8% en Amérique latine et Caraïbes, près de 6% en Océanie et moins de 2,5% en Amérique du Nord et en Europe. L'Afrique est également la région où la proportion de la population touchée par la faim a le plus augmenté. Depuis le lancement des objectifs de développement durable en 2015, la proportion des personnes mal nourries en Afrique a augmenté de 4,4% contre 2,8% en Amérique latine et Caraïbes et 1,1% en Asie. Le nombre de personnes touchées par la faim à l'échelle internationale avait atteint 828 millions en 2021. En Afrique, ce nombre a atteint 282 millions de personnes, soit une augmentation de 49 millions de personnes par rapport à 2019. La situation a été amplifiée par la conjugaison de nouvelles crises, dont celle provoquée sur la scène géopolitique mondiale, la toile de fond restant le changement climatique. Au titre de la position du groupe africain, et je voudrais toujours le préciser en mon nom, nous soulignons la nécessité d'obtenir d'ici la prochaine conférence ministérielle de l'OMC une décision qui réponde aux défis immédiats et urgents de l'insécurité alimentaire et de la perte des moyens de subsistance. Ce résultat devrait fournir la marge de manœuvre nécessaire aux PMA et aux PDINPA pour accroître leur production et leur productivité agricole, ce qui contribuerait à améliorer l'accès au financement pour les importations de produits alimentaires et garantir l'accessibilité des marchés internationaux de produits alimentaires pour nos pays. Nous réaffirmons que la résilience à long terme face aux futures crises alimentaires et la sécurité alimentaire durable repose sur la mobilisation de la capacité de production des économies africaines et doivent remédier aux asymétries et aux déséquilibres de longue date de l'accord sur l'agriculture et établir des conditions équitables pour le commerce international des produits agricoles. Nous rappelons les membres de l'OMC à s'engager pour paraphraser le ministre camerounais du Commerce, à accroître leur soutien à la fourniture d'une assistance technique et financière aux pays en développement membres, y compris par le biais d'institutions financières internationales et régionales en vue d'améliorer leur capacité de production agricole, de leur production agricole, leurs infrastructures et leur accès aux intrants agricoles. Deuxième volet de la question, maintenant en ce qui concerne le soutien dont les pays africains ont besoin pour parvenir à un système résilient, le groupe partage les besoins exprimés par les PMA et les pays en développement importateurs nets de produits alimentaires dans le résumé des réponses au questionnaire sur l'utilisation des flexibilités de l'OMC par les PMA et les PDINPA à travers bien d'autres mécanismes. On peut citer entre autres l'accroissement de la production et de la productivité agricole, l'accès à des marchés agricoles et à des marchés des intrants ouverts et prévisibles, la disponibilité de financements destinés à faciliter l'investissement dans l'agriculture et l'accès aux intrants, la mise à disposition d'une assistance technique et d'un renforcement des capacités afin d'assimiler les nouvelles technologies agricoles, y compris pour faire face aux défis climatiques, la diversification du portefeuille de récoltes, l'amélioration des systèmes de gestion d'eau, des chaînes d'approvisionnement nationales et des infrastructures associées solides, la promotion des investissements du secteur privé dans l'agriculture et la facilitation de l'accès des petits exploitants agricoles aux crédits, etc. Des conditions, pour finir, des conditions préférentielles pour accéder à des intrants agricoles à des prix raisonnables ainsi que pour accéder à des infrastructures logistiques et d'envoi international. Par exemple, des conteneurs, en particulier pendant une crise. Merci, Madame la modératrice.
Thank you for your interventions and giving us a perspective from Africa. And I'm truly struck by what you've said, is that obviously there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a checkered record. Fragile states have a particular vulnerability. Least developed countries have a particular vulnerability. But on average, food insecurity and hunger, the percentage increase is higher on the African continent, and barriers to trade are making it difficult to access new markets and also find different ways of production. There's one thing, you'll forgive me, I'm not an expert, but there's just one thing that doesn't seem to be coming up, and perhaps Mr. Sachin Sharma, you can help us with this one. We're forgetting what's happening at the back end of the value chain. We're focused on the farmers, which we must. We're focused on consumer behavior, but we're not talking about the retailers. What I've been told is at the retail level, there's even a 60% markup on the cost of production. So business needs to be part of this conversation as well. As I introduce you, Professor Sachin Sharma from the Center of WTO Studies in India, how can developing countries as a whole mobilize domestic food production, and what support can be offered at a multilateral level to supplement what governments are doing domestically? What can happen multilaterally?
Thank you very much. Dear Loreto and dignitaries, I will start with a quote from Mother Teresa. She said that, "Make us worthy to serve those who live and die in poverty and hunger." And today, standing in a world ravaged by hunger, I can't find a better message that fits the agenda of this session. Besides housing millions of food insecure people in the farm sector of most developing countries face high-level farm distress due to factors such as insufficient institutional support, small farm size, dominance of resource-poor farmers, lack of safety nets, natural disasters, and other supply-side constraints related to input and post-harvest operations. Further, price fluctuations leads to distressed sales and worsen livelihood security for farmers who already their back against the wall. Over and above, increased use of green protectionism and non-tariff barrier have further compounded the problem of these farmers by hindering their participation in international trade. Given the multiple challenges, I believe that a one-size-fits-all approach is not workable, and solution will vary according to socio-economic situation of each country. In this regard, we can't deny the importance of access to quality inputs, investment, and technology at affordable prices in enhancing domestic production capacity. The WTO rules recognize it and allow developing countries to provide unfettered assistance for resource-poor farmers under the development box. However, the benefits of these measures are often nullified due to steep price fluctuations and market failures. In this regard, public stockholding programs ensure food security and remunerative prices for farmers. These programs have been vital for food security in many countries, including Bangladesh, China, Egypt, Indonesia, India, Jordan, Kenya, Mali, Nepal, Pakistan, Philippines, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. For instance, India's public stockholding program ensured the survival of 810 million people by providing free food grains during the pandemic and recent food crisis. A significant challenge for these countries is the erosion of policy space due to outdated external reference price based on 1986-88 to calculate subsidies under the WTO rules. It is evident that multilateral rules require recalibration in order to account for the present-day realities. For example, if the Egyptian government pays its wheat farmer a dime more than $4.5 per 1,000 kg, it is called as a subsidy. And yet, what can we afford today at $4.5? In Geneva, a packet of French fries costs more than that. In what world can we equate 1,000 kg of wheat capable of feeding hundreds to a single serving of French fries? The current rules assume a utopian world where inflation has not occurred in the last 40 years. However, the reality is very different. As per the World Bank latest report, many countries, including Ethiopia, Malawi, South Sudan, Egypt, Ghana, Nigeria, Turkey, Venezuela, and Zimbabwe faced high food inflation during 2023-24, and with some facing more than 100% inflation. The importance of public stockholding program can be assessed from the fact that 75 countries, representing the voices of 4.8 billion people, are demanding to update these rules. Beyond the domestic challenges, it is required that international trading system shall be inclusive for resource-poor farmers, adopting unilateral measures that only emphasize environmental dimensions without considering the prevailing socio-economic situation and capacity constraint can result in unsustainability, food insecurity, and exclusion of resource-poor farmers from global agriculture value chain. Farmers will not go green if they are in the red. For an inclusive multilateral trading system, need-based technical and financial assistance is must. One country, one priority product project of FAO is worth mentioning in this regard. The pandemic has taught us the value of international cooperation. Despite our differences, we successfully came together by adopting a declaration on emergency response to food insecurity and a decision to exempt World Food Programme from export restrictions. In the same spirit, ensuring multilateral cooperation among international organizations, along with the regional and bilateral initiative, is essential to facilitate agricultural development assistance and emergency aid. For its part, India firmly believes in the abiding ethos that world is one family. During and beyond the pandemic, India has continued to provide humanitarian aid in the form of vaccine and food assistance and implemented several capacity building programs for farmers and officials from Global South. In conclusion, the solution lies in collective action, a multifaceted approach that combines domestic strategies with international collaboration is required to tackle current challenges. Through our combined efforts, we have contained COVID-19. Now it is high time that we eliminate the ongoing pandemic of insensitivities towards resource-poor farmers through collective action. Thank you very much.
Thank you for some of those insights as well, reflecting both policy and what happens at commerce. And thank you for reminding us again that the world has a collective ethical responsibility. We're one family. Mr. Zinundungu, from Farm Inputs Promotions, you're going to have the last word. I think there's a saying, it's not over until I say the beautiful lady speaks. It's not over. But as you address us as well, telling us what needs to happen, particularly for smallholder farmers, I want to go back to something else I read from an FAO report. We know that across the world, most smallholder farmers are women. With urbanization, most smallholder farmers are now becoming elderly, over the age of 65, we're told. And then there's an additional sort of a rural-urban divide. So I hope you can speak to that. But what the FAO says is if we can eliminate one issue in the world, gender inequality, there'd be zero hunger. Do you agree with that view? Gender parity would lead to zero hunger.
Thank you very much for giving me the floor. I'm very honored to be here. I'm humbled that the WTO is taking farmers' thoughts into consideration. I'll come back to that. I just want us to think of a situation. Let's say we are somewhere in eastern Uganda. You're a farmer who has 2 acres of land. You grow maize, beans, some peanuts, and you have some chicken running around. None of these are improved varieties. You have no access to fertilizer, yet this is where you get your food and your income to take your children to school. This is a situation for millions of farmers in Africa. Now, that's the situation in which you're living. You're recycling seed, but then at the same time, a lot of challenges are coming at you. There's climate change. It's something even at our level, we are still trying to understand it. We have pests and diseases. About 3 years ago, fall armyworm came to Africa and we didn't know what to do, even at a level of extension. We have soil degradation. Our soils are becoming worse with every season. We have land fragmentation. So with the way we have land inheritance in Africa, the amount of land I have under agriculture is reducing every year. So there's a lot that is coming at farmers. It's very overwhelming. Yeah, so all these challenges, and I know most of us here seated will say the solutions exist to all these challenges, right? Which might be true, but do farmers have access to these solutions? Do they have knowledge of their existence and know where to get them? So for most parts, I think there's a disconnect. All these challenges are published. We know what the challenges, and I don't dispute any of them, but there's a disconnect between the challenges and how the solutions are presented to farmers. For me, that's the main issue. So even when it comes to gender, the solutions to how we can engage women, they exist, but the disconnect is how these are brought. I don't want to dwell a lot about that. I want us to think a little bit about the hope. I think there is hope to all this. I don't want to look like Africa is doomed. It's not. Africa has the potential to actually feed itself and feed the world. But how do we engage with farmers? That's why I'm saying it's a great opportunity to have our voices as from the front mile and also for the farmers. Understanding that farmers are different, I'm very happy to hear my colleagues say the same thing. We work in 17 African countries, and in every country the context is different. So we don't need to generalize Africa. We need to take it case by case. So when we even talk about gender, the gender issues women in Senegal are facing are very different from the gender issues in Kenya. I know it's very complex. It needs commitment for you to deal with such. And so how do we understand the African context? How do we understand the farmers? How do we present the solutions? So most solutions that exist are at a global level. At every national agricultural research station in Africa, there is a variety that is life-changing for farmers. But these varieties don't get to the farmers. A lot of research has been done. When we went to a national research institute in Malawi, they said they've had cowpea varieties since 2010. Cowpea varieties that are mind-blowing. But these varieties were not taken to farmers. They're still at a breeder seed level. So how do we ensure that farmers get to learn? Now, if your whole life is in this farm, you cannot risk adopting something that you've not tried. So farmers need to experiment at a small scale. We expect too much from farmers, thinking that they can just take whatever technology we've offered and overhaul their whole farm with these new technologies. They need to try at a small scale. So how do we, and yesterday I remember Madam DG saying that inclusivity is an issue. The most vulnerable in society are the ones who are prone to hunger, and that's the women, that's the poor in society. So how do we ensure that we engage with them? Another issue is about the interventions that are brought to farmers. Are they sustainable? Or are we creating projects and interventions that cause distortion in markets, so that most projects are between 4 years, and by the time we exit, there are no private actors to take up the work that has been left behind. So are we causing market distortions? Are actors within the private spectrum working with farmers? So is there public-private partnership? Farmers yearn to be more than just subsistent farmers. Farmers yearn to earn, to change their livelihoods. So I want to speak a little bit about how we engage farmers to ensure that we deal with some of these issues, that we have sustainability, we have rapid transformation. And the first thing is about how do farmers learn by doing. So instead of having one big demo in a village where everyone learns, we want to go an extra mile to engage every farmer, inclusivity. So having small technologies in small quantities, we call them small packs, maybe even 100 grams of seed, something that a farmer can try without risking their future. So that's a very small innovation that can help us reach millions of farmers, to increase awareness of the varieties and have them learn about good management practices. The other thing is about linking farmers to where to buy the seed. So most of the times, even if they try, Africa is vast. If I live somewhere 100 kilometers from the capital of Nairobi, I cannot go to buy the seed from the seed company. So are there systems to ensure that we are cascading down the supply of seed, quality seed? Again, there's a whole issue that we don't want to go to about fake seed. And also, when it comes to trade, so once, for some crops, we have surplus. Farmers are producing enough to feed themselves and sell, but they are not able to reach the market. So what are we doing to ensure that we can aggregate and sell? Of course, ensuring that we are not oppressing the farmers. Yes, that's my view. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And certainly what you've done is an important thing. Often when we're talking at a high level, we're talking about people, based on what research and statistics say. You're talking about men and women whose faces you know, whose voices you've heard. And thank you for bringing that perspective. So, ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, I'd like to wrap the session up just with closing comments. But if there's a pressing intervention on the floor, could you just show me by hand and we'll allow you a moment to speak? Otherwise, if you will give me the latitude, may I say, we're done? And just ask, in less than 30 seconds, Your Excellencies, what is the key takeout from today's conversation?
Bien, merci encore, Madame la modératrice. Je crois que tout a été dit. L'humanité est en péril à cause de menaces de sécurité alimentaire. Et j'insiste à nouveau sur la sécurité tout court. J'ai commencé par une citation, l'écrivain américain Ernest Hemingway. Je terminerai par un célèbre homme politique français de regrettée mémoire, Jacques Chirac. C'était à l'occasion d'une conférence sur le climat en Afrique du Sud. Et le président Chirac avait dit « Notre maison commune brûle et nous regardons sans rien faire ». C'est la même chose pour les questions de sécurité alimentaire. Nous devons maintenant agir pour prévenir le danger qui nous guette. Au lendemain de la guerre, il y a eu le plan Marshall qui a permis de reconstruire l'Europe. Nous souhaitons un plan Marshall pour le développement de l'agriculture en Afrique. Ce ne sera pas uniquement pour l'Afrique, mais c'est pour l'humanité. Un plan Marshall pour l'Afrique, pour le développement de l'agriculture. Et l'UMC en a les moyens en se dotant des règles. C'est l'objectif que nous nous assignons en accueillant prochainement la 14e conférence ministérielle de l'OMC qui doit être la conférence du succès, la conférence de nouvelles règles pour le sauvetage de l'humanité. Je vous remercie.
Thank you. We can't stand by as the house is burning down. We need a Marshall Plan on agriculture. We need interventions now, all hands on deck. Your short summation, Minister Gibolo Fanga.
Merci, Madame la modératrice. Alors, en conclusion, ou comme dernier propos, je vais simplement dire qu'il faut qu'on fasse avancer les travaux de l'OMC sur la question, notamment la question de l'insécurité alimentaire pour sécuriser davantage les populations. Pour dire un mot de manière classique, laissez-moi vous dire que à la différence du droit pénal général, par exemple, où l'on est en principe responsable que de son propre fait, il y a par exemple le Code civil en matière de procédure qui admet que certaines personnes puissent se retrouver dans l'obligation de réparer un dommage causé par d'autres. C'est pour rejoindre un peu les propos du ministre du Commerce du Cameroun pour dire que si rien n'est fait jusqu'ici, alors nous courons aussi le risque, avec le goût d'avoir un risque pour une insécurité alimentaire. Et donc, c'est pour nous le moment d'attaquer cette question et de parvenir à une sécurité alimentaire de sorte à sécuriser les populations. Parce que si rien n'est fait, c'est un gros risque. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much. The time is now. In 30 seconds, Sachin Sharma. Key thoughts.
Thank you. I have 3 points to mention here. First, special and differential treatment to developing countries, including LDCs, shall remain integral to the multilateral trading system. Second, it is essential to understand and uphold sustainability in all its dimensions, social, economic, and environmental. In the zeal for sustainability, we should not ignore the pervasive farm distress and other challenges faced by resource-poor farmers. Ignoring these economic and social dimensions leads to exclusion and promote unfairness and unsustainability. And the last, recalibrating unfair and outdated trade rules to account for inflation is essential to address the policy space constraints of developing countries. Furthermore, addressing the long-pending collective demand of more than 75 countries for a permanent solution to public stockholding for food security purpose is essential. Thank you.
Thank you. And Susan Ndungu, the shortest reminder of what we need to take away today.
So a lot has been done. There's something that has happened. I know sometimes it looks like the story of Africa needing is what is out there. We are making milestones, but that doesn't mean the work is done. It's urgent. I heard someone say something that scared me, that 20% space starvation and it's growing, so it's urgent. The work requires commitments, and I'm happy to see people coming on the table and looking forward to working with them. Yeah.
I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for sharing your great insights with us today. I've learned quite a few things, but I think for me, I realized that if we're not talking food security, then we're going to be talking social security, political security issues in future. And so the time is now to do something about preventing what could be a much more complex social crisis in the future, whether it's industrial policy, aligning with agricultural policy, complemented by trade policy. Definitely less action, less talk, more action, and agreements that are confirmed in various multilateral fora. Supporting farmers, making sure they have a voice in policy making. And then when we talk coordination, yes, we've spoken about it from a multilateral point of view, but something that's also been alluded to. When we talk food inflation, that's the work of reserve banks. So we need many more actors here, from the sovereigns to the central banks, to the various international organizations, and then somebody to coordinate that as if a philharmonic orchestra is playing. My question is, who is the conductor? Could it be the WTO? Either way, let's find a solution. Thank you very much for listening to us in this high-level session.